Moving along, yeah. You want that same thing, girl, you gotta wanna be hard. To have that, yeah, you gotta have it. You got it. You want to be boss, girl. You gotta want to be boss. What you're listening to is a couple of cuts from the album "You Want to Be Me." Make sure you go to your favorite, because I'm on all of them, baby. Your favorite music stream and check the album out. You also have Poetic Peace Volume 2, Side Spot, and you have Volume 1. Got a hot one for you this morning. Hey, girl, mom. Dude's doing you real dirty. And selfishly driven. He wants to be in control. He wants to change how you're living. Heading for disaster. You're giving honor and praise to God, but you won't let him master her. Hey, I got a new single coming out any day now. Yeah, Bottom Feeders. You probably already seen the promo post. I'm getting over this cold so I can go ahead and finish up these vocals, and we'll be ready to go. You gotta wanna be boss. The name of this song is Stage Names. The first one you listened to was Lowly Ones. Yeah. Yeah, let me pull up some mood music here, and yeah, let me see where's South Spot at. Let me find your South Spot. There we go, Poetic Peace. There we go. Yeah, need a little mood music. You know, get this flow going this morning. So the mood music is from the album South Spot. It's all dance music. It's house music. Yeah. Let me drop this down a tad bit. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so again, welcome to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host, as always, Shabir Aleem, and we have a good one this morning. As always, if I can pull this back up now, get the little music going on. So, emotional intelligence. What is that? Right? You see EI, you see AI. You know, AI is artificial intelligence. And when we're talking about EI, we're talking about emotional intelligence. You know, that's the ability to control situations emotionally, understanding your emotions and guiding the other or others in a direction of stability so it doesn't get out of control, right? And a lot of times we don't recognize exactly what it is that's going on inside of us, but it's the ability to think in the moment, to be in the moment, and not to be latched on to trauma, past issues, things, you know, things of that nature, you know, involving that person, the persons, or even yourself, because we get triggered by things. So the idea here is to be in control, not out of control, because the old saying goes that when you think you're in control, that's when you really find out you're out of control. So emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a type of intelligence that is defined as an ability to monitor and regulate one's own and others' emotions and to use emotions to facilitate one's thoughts and actions. One's thoughts and actions. And all the shows that I talk about um, are based and grounded in personal growth and development because the relationships that we have with others, is important, especially when we're talking about the foundation of Daddy's Right Here Live, which is facing and embracing our responsibility as fathers. But when you say father, that means that there's a mother. And we know that there are a lot of single parent environments, right? And a lot of these environments are as such because people have not committed to the relationship in the way that they need to. When the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife aspect of that relationship changes, there's still a child involved. And what we fail to do, and I say we because I include myself in this, what we fail to do is make that adjustment. The relationship is just shot out. It's toxic. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to work as girlfriend and boyfriend, right? But what about mother and father? The role of parents has to supersede everything else when you have a child. There's no more, excuses. There's no more excuses. Once you know that the mother is expecting a child, that change has to immediately begin to happen because you have to understand that that relationship, as y'all established it, has changed. There's no more just me and you, where you can just walk away. You can just call it quits. You can just get a divorce and all those things. Now you have to begin to think differently. You have to begin to think differently. You have to begin to see that there's another level of responsibility that kicks in here, and all involved will be affected by whatever decision you make. So if your emotional intelligence has not been developed, first and foremost, then growing it is going to be a whole totally different group, right, for you. And a lot of times that's why we end up with no bother from one another, and the child suffers immensely, right, because of that. So now the other person is forced to make a decision as to how I'm going to handle this. And in most cases, people walk away, start new lives and new families elsewhere, and don't go back and try to fix the situation with the other parent, and that has to be repaired. So emotional intelligence is often referred to as emotional quotient or EQ, kind of like the emotional version of IQ. So when you look at IQ, right, that's based in it factors a number based on what it is you're being tested on, right? So we know they do the whole school testing thing and find out where your IQ is to see whether or not you can withstand the academics that they're about to put upon you, the expectation of being able to interpret these academic requirements and how you respond to them. So when you look at EI is how in tune with you are you? You do things. Do you know why you do them? But most importantly, you do them. You know when somebody says something to you, somebody confronts you on a particular behavior, a behavior that you're not so proud of. One of your less endearing traits, you know that when somebody approaches you about those things, more than likely you are going to react negatively. You feel offended, you feel embarrassed, you feel humiliated. So you feel the need to defend yourself. What are you defending? Why are you defending that? How do you see the person in front of you? What is your interpretation, understanding, and belief about them, which causes you to react that way? Do you react that way to somebody who you're very close to, a sibling, a parent, your husband, your wife? How do you respond to each one of these situations, and why do you respond differently? Emotional intelligence suggests that you are consistent no matter who it is, no matter what the situation is, no matter how offended you feel. You're aware that when you're in this situation that you react negatively and that it is not going to be a good outcome. So that means that you're seeking a lose-win encounter instead of a win-win encounter. That means that the other person just doesn't have to be subjected to your internal upheaval that you have failed to manage, right? They shouldn't have to be subjected to that. You can disagree, but when it turns into an all-out battle, an all-out war, or an ended relationship, that's a problem. That's a problem. And what you have to begin to look at is these kinds of things. What kind of encounters you have? Where do you respond or react to situations in the most negative of ways, right? So you pick the most difficult situation and you start analyzing that. So what we do in cognitive behavior treatment is we have the person look at the event, what just took place, articulate that, what just took place. My children's mother told me that I needed to spend more time with the child. How did you react to that? Right? So that's the activating event, because it activates something within you. The activating event is your children's mother told you needed to spend more time with your child. So then you go, that's the A. Then you go to the B, which is the belief about the event. What is your belief about what just took place? Right? And you start writing this list of your beliefs about, well, she always makes me feel like I'm a little boy, like I'm stupid, like I don't know what I'm doing, like I don't know how to be a father. It's always that way. She always tries to tell me how to do. She doesn't respect how I do things. She always wants things to be her way. And the list goes on and on. And you complete that list because these are your beliefs about what just took place. And in most cases, it's your relationship with that person that drives the reaction. Because if you got the same thing from your mother, who loves you, who you have a great relationship with, and mom comes to you and says you need to spend more time with your child, what is your first response typically? Yeah, I know, mom. I know, mom. And then you go right to the reason. Well, every time I talk to her, she this and she that. See, that's what you have to address. You have to address that because you don't react that way with your mother, right? But you react that way with the child's mother. If you and the homies and you and the girlfriends, y'all sitting around chit-chatting, who are they? How do they influence your thinking? How do they drive your responses? If you're around some real folk, right, ones who you can be honest with, you'll tell them the truth. But then you add another person to that equation who you're not so cool with, right? You'll fake the funk and you'll have a different response. Why? Why? You're the one who's in need of change, not them. But in the effort to impress them or in an effort to make them believe that you got this thing handled, that you got him under control, right? Or you're showing the lack of respect for him to them, right? All these things have to be taken in consideration. You know what happens. You know what you do in these situations. You may not know why. And at this point, we're not even talking about the why. We're just talking about what you do. You know what you do when your feelings get hurt. You know what you do when you get frustrated. Hey, what's up, Miss T? You know all of these things. You know all of these things about yourself, but you don't put them under control. Emotional intelligence is a matter of you putting that under control. Period. So you're aware of things. You just choose not to do anything different. Then you want somebody else to accept that behavior. You want somebody else to accept it. And when they don't accept it, now you're the victim. But you've been victimizing them all along with your belief about who they are, about particular situations. You put that down there, right? That's exactly what has to happen. It's a matter of you paying attention to you. Because you can't control another person, but you can control yourself. So when you act foolishly, when you act juvenilistic in situations where you should be the mature person, you just bow down to the nonsense, to the shenanigans, and you act out. And you know why you're doing it. You know why you're doing it because your feelings are hurt. Why are your feelings hurt? Why are you offended? Have you created a big I and little you? Like I'm better than you? I'm bigger than you? I'm smarter than you? My social status, is better than yours. I live here, you live there. I make this amount of money, you make that amount of money. So how dare you say anything to me? You work at McDonald's. I work in the corporate office. Yeah. I make more money than you do as the father. Therefore, that gives me the right to talk down to you because you're getting public assistance. Like, what is your perception? That influences you thinking that you have the right to talk to a person in this way. It's like pissing on yourself. Don't nobody feel it but you. And the other person is just moving on. Their life is hunky dory. They making things happen, and you all balled up in the knot because you want them to react and be a certain way. Why? Why do you think they should bow down to you? Why do you think they should yield to you? But again, they're the problem, not you. You understand? So to the article, there's an article. I'm always on Psychology Today. Emotional intelligence and how to increase it. Definition of emotional intelligence and how to be more emotionally intelligent. And this article is by Tachiki Davis, PhD. Um, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If I didn't, forgive me. But I like to give credit where credit is due. Right? So here in the article, what are the dimensions of emotional intelligence? So there are 4 dimensions that are noted here. The first dimension is the perception of emotion, being able to identify and differentiate between different emotions and feelings. Now, in previous shows, I talked about how males are conditioned. So this is a big struggle here for males because many males are told they don't talk enough, they don't talk at all. Many males walk around and we have our emotions in this concrete bunker within ourselves because that's how we're conditioned. Don't cry, don't express any emotions about stuff. The only thing you do is be aggressive, and that's usually grounded in anger. So we only have two switches here. We're either all the way up here in happiness or we move into anger, right? And when we're all the way up here, typically, right? Um, it's usually something happening for us to be there. We're getting ready to get paid in a couple days. Old girls coming over. We're gonna get it in. Clubs happening on something positive. Super Bowls coming up. So yeah, we kind of got that emotion, and that's what we're riding on. That's what happens when you're not emotionally intelligent, right? The day itself that you have been blessed to have should bring about some level of emotion, beginning with gratitude. I'm grateful to have another day above ground, whatever happens in the course of that day, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, I still have that day. Somebody didn't get that day. So you have to begin to build a foundation in order to be able to connect with your emotions on the inside. But again, for males, it's a very difficult road to travel because we get so many mixed messages in what it is that we do, with our emotions. It begins with our fathers or male figures, male caretakers, people who were around. If we're on the street, you get another layer of what to do with those emotions. So we have all these layers of misinformation, misguidedness, right? Into our misunderstanding of life, misunderstanding of what it means to come into being a teenager, what it means to come into adulthood when we're still stuck in boyhood because we go from being taught to be a man as a boy, and then by the time many of us become men, we're still boys because we miss boyhood. We don't know what boyhood is. We didn't experience it. So it's like you have to understand the human development aspects of life. So if you force one from a position where they're supposed to be a boy and you're telling them about manhood kind of stuff, they're missing the boy aspect. They're missing the boy aspect, right? So when it comes to emotions, and interacting with males, everything is based on competitiveness. Everything is based on and grounded in aggression. You got to walk around the neighborhood with this scowl on your face. You got to walk with this. I got my hook out the way, but I still have the little flow. So I'm in Florida, and they know I'm not from Florida because of my swag, the Philly swag. But it's a matter of I still have all of those variables within me in terms of how I flow through the day in different places that I am. But I learned that the hook is not a necessity. The scowl is not a necessity because those are a part of what we get. We're somewhat ordained by those kind of things that you have to be this way. You have to look tough. You have to look like you're damn crazy as a young black male, especially. Walking through the hood, letting them know I'm not with that. I'm not. Yeah. But deep down inside, the emotional intelligence, deep down inside, you want to express the humanness of yourself, and you can't do it. Well, you're taught you can't do it. You're taught that as a male, so it's confusing, and that's why so many of us males who are so aggressive and so violent in our approaches to things. Oh no, it's not an excuse for domestic violence, but it's a reason. And until that reason is dealt with, right, things are going to continue to be the way they are. And as I ended last week's show, I said that we need to do better with our boys. We need to hug our boys. We need to love our boys more. We need to allow them to express themselves. We need to teach them to express themselves and stop telling them, shut up and be this and be that. No, be you. Be you. Because we're naturally innately equipped with a fight or flight. So I don't care who you are. If somebody attacks you, you're going to do one or two things. You're going to fight or you're going to giddy up. Right? So you don't need to walk around and be a certain way for somebody to think. That's the Jedi mind trick. That's that street thing, right? You make somebody believe you about that you're really built like that, and you're not. I've seen way too many dudes in the prisons, yeah, on the side of the bump in counseling, yeah. I've been doing that for 30 years. I've been in this field for 30 years, in the prisons, corrections, right? Counseling, substance abuse counseling, and it all comes down to, like, I just want to be just a regular dude. I was doing what I had to do, what I thought was the best thing to do at the time, but now I still got to deal with this other person who's been conditioned to do nothing but be violent, to be angry, to not enjoy things. I talked about in last week's show, letting the little boys play with their sisters when they're doing the doll, playing with dolls and, the tea, the kitchen set and all that kind of stuff, because that's teaching them socialization with the opposite gender. We take that away from them. So then when we act stupid, because boys do stupid stuff, when we like girls, we just do stupid stuff, right? To get the girls' attention. Right. But we do stupid stuff because the way we're socialized. Right. And until we learn otherwise, we become more, intelligent about our emotions. It's going to keep being that way. So if you have a son, if you have young males in your family, young males who you're around, right, aid them in this development, because we need it. We need it. It wasn't until I was 34 till I shook off the boy. Yeah. And even though, Sigmund Freud says that young adulthood ends at 29, right? You layer on poor conditioning, because he's just talking about from a perspective of the psychosocial human development aspect. So that means when you allow a child to go through the natural order of their development, right, by the time they hit 29, they should have internally made the adjustments, intellectually made the adjustment entering into adulthood. So when I see people who are past 30, still running the game, still up in the club, still doing all those things, and still haven't stabilized their lives, and then I see them 40 and 50, and they're still doing the same thing. It's because and it's okay to go to the club, go hang out. You like to dance, that's cool. But if it's like an every weekend thing, then you need to look at where are you really going. I mean, one of the most joyful things to do is to dance with your woman or your man at home. Put on a CD. Pull out the 8-track, pull out the cassette, pull out the turntable, right, and begin to enjoy one another. That's part of enjoying life. I was just having that conversation the other day about how, like, the more money you make, the more things that you can buy, but you can't buy joy. You can't buy peace. So you have to begin to condition yourself, to be stable and comfortable at a certain point where you're okay with just dancing at home. We can get some drinks, if that's what we do, light some incense, turn on the black light. It's a whole lot of things you can do, because you find that when you're young, you want family. After a certain age, you separate from family. Then after a certain age, you want to reconnect with family, because that's what's important, and that's all you want to be around, because you're at that age now. But there has to be a balance. And a lot of times people don't have that balance because they haven't brought to resolve their past traumas, their childhood traumas. They haven't really figured out what they want to be when they grow up. So they're trying to do all these things, and you just drive yourself nuts. And then you get tired. You get tired. Yeah, you get tired of all the things. Now you're trying to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do something different. And you have to make that adjustment. Back to the article. Use of emotion to facilitate thinking. Being able to use emotions to foster reasoning, problem solving, and interpersonal communication. All of these things are important here to foster reasoning. And that's when I was talking about the ABCs of cognitive behavior treatment. What is the event? What is your belief about the event? The event. The next part of that is to see what are the consequences of continuing to hold on to that value, that belief, that perception, that worldview. What are the consequences of holding on to the fact that, well, they did it because I'm black. What's the value in holding on to that? The value, the consequence of holding on to that is not a positive one. People are people. People are mean. People are spiteful. People are vindictive. That's the world, regardless of one's race. Regardless of one's race. Everything that happens does not have to be about race. It's just a person's behavior. But then you add that layer of behavior and you add the other behavior of what has been going on in the narrative, what's very prevalent in the narrative of what you see every day. It's intentional. It's intentional. It's already a seed planted. So now every situation becomes about race. When it's somebody that don't look like you, it becomes about race. And that's not always the case. People are people. People do stupid stuff. People do things out of ignorance. People do things out of fear. That's why the narrative is as it is in our media, to force that upon you, to force that thinking. And then that's how you see everything else. But you can change that thinking, because that's the consequence of adhering to the narrative. That's the consequence. That's the negative consequence. And that's why the world is the way it is today. And then when you see certain events that happen in the world, you'd be like, and you see all these people come together, you'd be like, well, is what I believe true? I mean, this is what they say. This is what this says. This is what it says in the news. This is what it's in a magazine. It's everywhere. It's in music. Is it true about everybody? No. You can go back to the civil rights movement, George Floyd, what's happening with Palestine and Israel. You look at all of those things, man, and you see people of all nationalities, of all ethnicities together. You see it. You see it. And you have the ability to make the choice. Or you can continue to walk around with this belief, with this narrative. You can keep on watching CNN and Fox News, excuse me, and all these other social media outlets, and you can keep following the narrative. And that narrative is going to follow you right to your grave. Because you're the one who's internalizing. You're the one who has this value and this belief, and you're the one who's walking around looking at the world through that lens. Excuse me. I had firsthand experience coming up in the 60s in South Philly. I didn't make a choice to hate whites. I had rocks, bottles, and stuff thrown at me. Anybody knows about South Philly, they know how it was back in the 60s and very early 70s. We went back and forth on school buses and had rocks and bottles thrown at us. We had all kinds of stuff that happened to us. I could be a very hateful person right now if that's what I wanted to do. But why? What's the benefit in it? For real. What's the benefit in it? It's not how everybody is. Because when I was outside of that area, in other areas, in other white communities, I didn't experience that. The block that we walked through as children, we had a little store, a little candy store. His name was Pops, an older white guy. He sold candy, penny candy. And he used to come out there all the time and tell the neighbors, leave them kids alone. I ain't bothering nobody. Yeah, you know. And eventually you had some people who moved out of that community. Others moved, you know. But then you go right outside of that block. That's how life is, man. But nobody has the conversation about what happens on their own block with people who look just like them. You don't have that conversation. Is your hatred still the same? See, when you start looking at emotional intelligence, you start looking at the fact that you have within you the ability, free will is what God gave us. You have the ability to make a decision to hate or not hate. We have all these folks running around here talking, calling themselves believers of the books, yet and still, like not the person, like not what they do. Right? Those things don't come to mind. See, when you call yourself a believer, you're a practicer of something. You need to be able to have things within that practice that aid you, right? Aid you from becoming like those that you just read about, like you just read about. So you have the information. This is what it's saying here. Um, Being able to use emotions to foster reasoning. Right? That's being rational. That's rational thinking versus irrational thinking. Problem solving. This conflict just happened. If you have the belief that this other person who doesn't look like you hates you, and you don't have the same belief about the person who looks like you, who's the one that's doing you dirty, there's something wrong with that picture. You made the decision that you just want to dislike others who don't look like you. But everybody who I've had encounters with, mostly in my life, have been with people who look like me. The people who broke into my mother's home a number of times, they look like me. The one that got caught climbing in the back window by the police looked like me. The one who took a 12-gauge shotgun and put it in my face looked like me. And the list goes on and on of look like me. Look like me. So see, when you start talking about emotional intelligence, you have to look at yourself. You have to look at your own beliefs, because it is these beliefs that you need to dispute based on the consequences that you see, which is the D portion of cognitive behavior treatment. The activating event, the B is the belief about the event, C are the consequences of the belief. And as you see, we keep going on down all the way to F. And none of it has anything to do with the event itself. It's your beliefs. It's your beliefs. The event only triggered that which resides within you. That's all it did. That's all it did. And the difficult part with the person who is emotionally intelligent in a relationship and the other person is not is that the other person perceives them as being know-it-alls, um, uh, closed-minded, and so on and so forth. No, that's the solution. I'm telling you what the solution is. And then add that on to being a Libra. Oh, that's you in trouble. So that's been what I've seen as being part of the difficulties in people being in a relationship with me, because I'm just not for the shenanigans. You're just not. Come on, you ain't gonna piss on me and tell me it's raining. That's just a reality. So, and then to talk about interpersonal communication. I'm a talker. I talk. I find the moment to say what I need to say. But it's not just about the moment. It's about trying to be unoffending, but direct. I'm the kind of person who will say something to you, right? And you'll walk away and be sitting at the restaurant drinking coffee, and then it dawns on you what I just said to you. Like, oh, did he just tell me I was stupid? Yeah, I'm that guy. That's the guy I am. Right? Again, because I'm a cognitive behavioral specialist. I want you to think. I don't want to tell you what your problem is, because if I tell you what I think your problem is, you won't address it. But when it makes you think about something that you said or did or didn't do or didn't say, and it comes to your own mind, now you have the seed in you, and you have to think about what you just did. So the next time you come this way, you know. But people call that arrogance. People call that haughtiness. And they do that because they haven't confronted within themselves their own. Uh, hmm, it's like, they people talk about short dudes having this Napoleon complex. But there's a complex that resides within you that you don't want to face when you're around me. So therefore, it's easier to say that I'm the problem and not you. Because I'm emotionally intelligent, I connect the dots. And I can tell you that what just happened didn't have anything to do with me. Back to the article. The other bullet: understanding and analyzing emotions, being able to understand the causes and meaning of emotions. We just got finished talking about that, right? You do it. What's the cause of it? See, it's things like this that you have to begin to look at in relationships, right? Once you peg a person as being a particular way, that's how you always deal with them. You'll always deal with them that way. And that's part of your issue, because you need to lock a person into this box so you're comfortable with dealing with them. But when that person comes out of that box and they begin to grow, they begin to change, they begin to mature, they increase their awareness of their emotional upheavals and do something about it, then to you, they have changed. And then to you, it's a threat, because either you feel like they're going to leave you, or you feel like um, it's going to be different between us. Because every encounter where they exercise their emotional intelligence, you feel less than. You feel like they should have took a passive approach to the situation and allowed you to be in your condition. I'm not going to allow you to be in your condition and succumb to such and become such because it makes you comfortable. And I had to learn that. But when you're an enabler, that's difficult. So I had to first start accepting the fact that I am an enabler. So to find myself in the situations I have in the failed marriages is based on the fact that I was an enabler, right? I'm a recovering enabler now, but I was an enabler. Therefore, I take your stuff and make it my stuff so you'd be happy. But then when I stopped doing that and I stood up for myself and confronted things, then you felt victimized and you withdrew and made it look like it was me. All the while, you were victimizing me. And now your victimization has come to fruition. And now you're seeing it thrown back at you. And you don't like that. That's emotional intelligence. Number 4, reflective regulation of emotions. Being able to prevent, reduce, enhance, or modify one's own and others' emotions. See, when you approach things from a perspective of telling someone how their conduct has affected you, and how when you're affected, this is what happens inside of you, as opposed to you. In other words, it's I use this in my classes. Make this a teach you about me moment instead of a tell you about you moment. So I'm going to teach you about how your behavior, right, affects me. And if I know why, I'm going to tell you why it affects me that way. I'm going to tell you what my experience has been with that. I was raised, in a single parent home, and my mother was the dominant caretaker. Therefore, she would yell, she would exercise her authority as a parent. So I would get beat by a woman, I would get yelled at by a woman, right? Told what to do by a woman, right? And there were some things that left marks, that left scars, internal and external. So therefore, when I'm confronted with a woman who acts in this capacity, right? These are the feelings that it draws up. You can't tell me to get rid of them. I'm going to feel them. I'm only telling you that when you do this thing, this is how I feel. And sometimes I may not be on my sharpest game and I may react to it. So the response is not to say to me, well, that's your stuff. You're right, it is. But it's your responsibility to understand and learn my stuff. See, now I'm teaching you how to manage your own emotional intelligence. So that's what it says here: modify one's own and others' emotions. So when I react back based on what I just told you about me, if you care, you should be looking at the fact of, I need to say and do something different when this shows up for me because it hurts him. And if he's hurt, I'm hurt, and this is not going to end nicely. You understand what I'm saying here? It's like even in the street, right? And I think 50 Cent said it best. He said, because the dude, you sitting down, the dude, steps on your foot, jumping up and going at him is not the solution to anything, right? It's just a matter of, yo, my man, you just like stepped on my foot and kept on walking. He may not have known. And if he did it intentionally, here's his opportunity to tell us where this thing going to go, where he want to go with this thing. Then I have the opportunity. Hey, you know what, bro? Hey, you know what? God, it ain't worth all that. And keep on moving. Right? That you don't have to validate your manhood and shoot, stab, punch somebody because they stepped on your foot. If he doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that he stepped on your foot, if he wants this to go south, you go north. If he follows you north, then it's called self-defense. But it always doesn't have to end in what? It doesn't have to go that way. You can just walk away from something, right? When you see it's not going anywhere, right? Don't get frustrated and start, launching an attack upon that person. Give yourself a minute, take a deep breath. Because I do that. I'll take a deep breath if I see it going the wrong direction. All right, listen. Maybe we can talk about it later. Right? So that's that reflective regulation. It happens all in the moment. It happens right in the moment. I'll get silent. I'll internalize what I need to internalize. I'll process what I need to process. Because at the end of the day, whether that situation changes or not, I have to make the adjustment. Am I going to continue to accept it? If I am, I need to make the changes to acceptance. If I'm not, I need to make the change to acceptance and understanding that I need to walk away from the situation. See, when the marriages went left, and I was trying to go right, I did all that I could, and conversationally, right, and trying to bring, it's time to go. Nothing to argue about. No knockdown, drag out battle. Okay, I'm out. You can revisit the same thing over and over again, but for so long. You can't make a person change. You can't. You can't take a person from the position that they are spiritually, mentally, even physically. You can't take them from a place that they are if that's where they want to be. Stop wasting your energy. I already did that for y'all. Stop wasting energy. It's not going to be anything different. It's not. They will always be that way. If a person is comfortable living in a studio apartment and you want to move them into, a two bedroom house, right? They don't necessarily want to go. They're comfortable in that space. But you want that for them. And you have to understand, because you want something for a person don't necessarily mean that they want that. So you thinking that you did these things and that now they're happy. No, you're happy. You're happy. But that's not part of their path. They were fine where they were. I brought this up before in shows. If a dude is selling drugs when you meet him, don't think because you get pregnant by him, you have a baby by him, that he's gonna stop selling drugs. No, it has nothing to do with, well, he needs to be a father. What, he's been taking care of himself by selling drugs. He's been paying his bills selling drugs. He done bought his whip with drug money. Everything he has on have been bought with drug money. You don't think he gonna take and dress you, which he was, and you was okay with that, but that's a whole nother show. But you don't think he's going to feed his child with drug money? Now you mad at him because he won't stop selling drugs? You got a lot to learn. That's emotional intelligence and understanding that. And I wish I had emotional intelligence, as I was being groomed along the way as a child, because I am who I am, and because this is the path that was already predetermined for me. But there were some things that I could have did beforehand that made me better equipped. I may have still taken that same path, but emotional intelligence would have afforded me the opportunity to do some things different. We're certainly not going to get through this entire article today, right? Back to the article. What are the skills that make up emotional intelligence? So let me tell you what the skills are that make up emotional intelligence. And I'm going to leave you with that today. And then we'll get back into the article in terms of how to grow, right? So, just like other types of intelligence, you can grow your emotional intelligence. You can build your emotional skills and engage in emotion activities that help you better understand and work with your and others' emotions. You have to be able to work with other people's emotions as well. You have to, unless you live as a hermit, but there's no interaction with other people. But many relationships fail because people don't know themselves. People don't have an understanding of what childhood trauma is. People don't have an understanding of how trauma lives on, that you learn how to manage trauma. You can't erase trauma. You learn to manage it, but you have to want to manage it. Some people want to keep being victims, and they live their life in every situation. They're a victim. No matter what happens, they're a victim. It was the other person's fault. That other person should have thought. That's what they should have did before they messed with me. They should have thought before they said what they said. It wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it. So here are the skills that make up emotional intelligence. Positive thinking. Ask yourself, do you think positive about things? Do you think positive? Are you a positive thinker? Now don't confuse, right, being a positive thinker with you see you always see the glass as half full in every situation, because that's just stupid if you do. That's just stupid. There's a reality to life. There's a reality that if things are clear in terms of the direction that they're going in, that's being positive when you say, I'm not with it. I'm not for it. Why? Because I want to remain in the positive condition I'm in. So I don't have tolerance for this stuff. That's not negative. It's not negative at all. You have to protect you. So it's still being positive, right? That you're maintaining your course and you're choosing not to indulge in this particular event, this particular activity that you already know the outcome to, right? That's being positive, right? So now you have to determine, are you a pessimist, an optimist? Do you look at things objectively or subjectively? What are you guided by? This all influences how you make your decisions. The next thing, it has resiliency. That's a skill. Resiliency is a skill, the ability to bounce back, to trudge forward, to shake it off. Empathy. Empathy is important because when you have to make that decision to walk away from a situation that is no good for you, it's proven that it's no good for you. Prove it. Not determined without some rational thinking, with some reasoning. If it's proven that this person is going to be this way, and if this person continues to be this way, it affects me in this way. Therefore, I need to move away. Right? I understand. People have the right to be who they are. People have the right to make whatever decisions they feel befit them. And so do you. And so do you. If a relationship is not working, right? I don't have to label you as being a bad person. It's two good people in a relationship that ain't going to work. But it's easy to say, well, this person did this to me and this person did that to me. When a person, even in infidelity, they didn't do that to you. That's his penis. That's her vagina. If they want to give it away, they give it away. They have to live with that. That ain't your penis. That ain't my vagina. That's what you decide to do with those body parts. That's yours. Give it away. But when you have the thinking that that's mine and how dare you, no, that person doesn't have the same value that you have of that particular relationship, that commitment. Maybe you didn't get the memo on what they meant by they're committed to you. Maybe y'all had different perspectives. You never talked about it, but just remember, that's hers. This is yours. Whatever choices you make, you do that. So that's understanding that now that you've done this, you feel guilt ridden. You feel the shame, embarrassed. Empathy allows for me to say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm hurt by it because I thought it was monogamous. Okay. It wasn't. I'll get past it. But how does that other person feel about what they've done? Because they never worked on that area of their lives. Therefore, it has reared its ugly head again and hit it in the situation again. Oh yeah, I want to call you all kind of whores, tramps, and all this other stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's what I feel. But at the end of the day, it's not just about what I feel, and that's what it talks about here. Modify one's own and others' emotions. I'm just out. Ain't nothing else for us to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and move through the change now. You got to go. So now you got to deal with the fact that you lost a good man. You got to deal with the fact that who it is that you gave your stuff to don't love you in the same way, ain't gonna care you in the same way, care for you in the same way that I did. You'll never get that. I'm a rarity. And I say that proudly because I know I am. But if you feel otherwise about yourself, you're going to accept it. You're going to believe that it's going to be different. And it's not. It's not. That is how the person is. And it's reinforced when you allow them to come back. That's the fact. That's the truth. Tell yourself whatever you want. If you remain, you might as well come into an agreement. Hey, listen, it's okay. Like every once in a while, I need a little extra flavor. I mean, you did it. And you love me. You wanted some extra flavor. When you could have asked me to give you that extra flavor, but right? So the empathy is though an understanding that a person has the right to be who they are, right? And I have the right to not accept that and be who I am and keep it moving. Gratitude. That was the first thing I talked about, like gratitude. When I walked away from the street life, I got gratitude because I was still alive. All those things that happened throughout all those years, up until 1994, I should have been dead. I walk down the street and I look at people that have varied disabilities, mental disabilities, physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, right? And look at me. Gratitude will keep you from doing a whole lot of dummy stuff. Gratitude will change your thinking about a whole lot of things. Reappraisal. This is how I saw myself. Let me go over that list again. Write another list. Okay. The reappraisal. You appraise this house that I live in today in the market that it is. It's probably about 200, maybe 73,000. Right? Pre-COVID, it was probably at 197, 198. Right? I'm just throwing out numbers. Yeah. The market is changing. Call the people up. Hey, tell me what's happening in the neighborhood. What we look like now. All right. Come on in. Get on the roof. Yeah. Walk around. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do the same thing with yourself. Don't go up on the roof, because if you go up on the roof and you see this kind of stuff like this, that appraisal is over. This is like it's all in season, and you, yep. That's the first thing we're gonna look at. Yep, he's close. Yeah, value done went down. He makes how much? The value done went up. He knows how to do what? The value done went up some more. Yeah. So you got to look at those things. What changes have you made in the home? What add-ons? Made another room, built a pool, whatever the case is, right? Reappraisal. Assertiveness. Stop sitting back and waiting for that person to change. Stop sitting back and waiting for something to happen. It's not going to go down that way. Roll. Let's go. Move out. Emotional expression. Yeah. Instead of keeping it stuck in, talk about it. Learn how to articulate your feelings about things. Speak up. Don't own somebody else's stuff. Don't work. You just reinforce them to continue to do it. And then to bring it back up and say, well, you remember you said that was, no, I lied. Oh, you lied. You lied to me. Now, that's what people do when they don't want to take responsibility for their behavior. You lied to me. I thought we would never lie to each other. Excuse me. We were just talking about you cussing me out because you got upset because I was late. Yeah, but now you're talking about lying. It's a diversionary tactic to avoid accountability. And it says here, and many more. So you know what the skills are, right? So look at that list of skills and start asking yourself, do you possess those skills? And if you possess those skills, then how do you put them to use? Do you pick and choose where you use them? Are you consistent? Because these skills are based in consistency. Everybody gets the same treatment, from the friendliest to the foulest, right? I'm going to address you in the same capacity, right? I'll walk away from you, not deal with you. Just don't follow me because the law allows me to protect myself, right? Ain't gonna work. I'm out. Okay, listen, not trying to argue. Why would you not want to argue? Because you're grateful and you know what arguments do to your spirit. Understand what I'm saying? So next week, we're going to get to the rest because it's like how to. But I first had to explain to you and give you an understanding of what EI is. Oh, EI, and all this one. Just kind of like stood right out like Old McDonald. But anyway, so we're going to talk about how to develop, how to grow, how to increase our emotional intelligence next week because we can't stop there. But it was important for me to give you a very clear picture. So this week, just look at the skills that I listen and listen. Hey, go to the website, get ahead of the game, so that way we can be even more interactive. You can share some of what you learned, by reading, and you can kind of like give other people some pointers on growing their intellectual intelligence and the skills. How do those skills play out for you, and how can you help somebody else with that? Because this is important in all relationships. Like people have to see, like, yo, it's not just me. This show isn't just for you. You know, it's for me too. But it's for all of us to learn how to interact because we all live in this world, and this is a very small one. You'll find this is a very small one. But the article again, Psychology Today, Emotional Intelligence and How to Increase it. But as always, listen, you could be doing uh, anything else on Saturday morning, but you're sitting here listening to me. I appreciate you for doing so. Um, wow, what a show, huh? Emotional intelligence. I'm your host, as always, Berlin. Thank you so much for tuning in. Uh, Make sure you look out for that album, well, that single, Bottom Feeders. Hey, man, it's the political season. You can use this one for uh, your campaign theme song. This one, political, Bottom Feeders. Check out the cover. Y'all have a great weekend. Peace. 187, quick pick is mine. Dipstick and undercover capper. So don't get it twisted. These things No better than a rat, something he can gain. He's gonna take that fraud. Full bread for million. Just casing out what is stealing. Most of the time, what it takes, it doesn't need. The devastation to the feet is free. He's a predator. You can love him or hate him. I'm meant to the hood. Follow up from he's a predator. Once yours and mine, he has no boundaries, all the sorts of the line. He's a predator. Woo! He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. A bully at heart, he's taking on them all. Men, women, children, the world to call. Big as a gangster because he carries a gun. Rolls in 20 deep, some of them on the run. He'll hit you once if you don't say a word. Know that he'll be back for a second or third. He's a predator. You can love him or hate him. A minute to the hood. A follower of him, he's a predator. Once yours and mine, he has to bounce. It's always crossing the line. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. Presented friendly, loot, and lascivious. Running game with the shit serious. Not about him with your man at home. I wanna be slider when you're home alone. Wanna see if you easy when you put up a fight. Making his move when the time is right. He'll bait you with drugs, money and gifts, but when it doesn't get his way, his energy shifts. He'll be persistent, stay in the court, becoming insistent with no remorse. He's a predator. You can love him or hate him. A man to the hood, a follower of him. He's a predator. Once yours and mine, he has no boundaries, always crossing the line. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. Hey, y'all have a great day. I'm your host, Geraldine.